Hi guys, Christopher Holmes here. Today we're going to take a look at the alien. Um, when I started building these aliens, I did it with a very arrogant attitude. I just figured, hey, I can do fuse Claptons, I should be able to do aliens. It's just a little S wire. What's the big deal? It's a very big deal. These are a very tricky coil, uh, but with some patience and some practice, you can definitely get it done. Um, but patience is a big one. Uh, it was probably a year of building coils before I actually watched the video on how to build aliens. I don't recommend that. It was stupid and arrogant and frustrating because it just made it that much harder. So once I watched my first video, I was like, wow. Um, so my first tip is to watch videos. Watch mine, Dwayne Rambo, um, Ned Devine. Those two guys are great. Um, Ask questions. Uh, if you're in groups, ask questions. If you see some aliens or any coil you see that you like, and you're like, hey, how did you do that? Um, ask them how. What makes it easy? What? How did you figure out how to do it? And if they're like, hey, I got them from this guy, go to that guy and ask that guy, whoever made them, how did you do this? Can you help me out? And I guarantee you, in the whole building clan, you'll get help. We love to help. We love to give our advice. Um, that's why there's 8 million YouTube channels. But aliens. So, uh, my videos are for beginner to intermediate builders, and quite honestly, mostly beginner. Um, so I give a basic introduction to the coil and how to get started with it, and then you take it to a different level and add different aspects to it. Um, pardon me. So in that vein, I'm going to give you a basic introduction to something I didn't for almost a year. I didn't realize even existed, and that's alien math. Alien math is a 3-to-1 ratio. Um, that means if you're going to use today, like I'm using 28 gauge cores, I'm going to use 3 cores of 28 gauge wire. And that tells me that to make my alien fuse, which is what a D core is I need a 28 gauge D core wire. So I need to make a Clapton around a single 28 gauge wire, take the core, the 28 gauge core out of it, and then what's left, the little springy part, that's going to be my alien fuse. I'm going to stretch that and fuse my alien with it. That's the basic math to it. There's a bunch of charts and videos, and all you got to do is, hey, what's alien math? And you'll get a million answers. But I throw a little, I do it a little differently than most. Some guys do this. But no matter what I'm aiming, no matter what the math comes out to, 4, 5 cores, whatever, Fralians, multiple ribbon stacks, whatever the math calls for the D core to be, I go one step up. So with my 28 gauge cores here, my 3 cores, I should D-core with a 28 gauge wire, but I D-core with a 27 gauge wire. That just makes the inner diameter of my alien fuse a little bigger. That's going to do a couple things. First, it helps prevent overstretch, and overstretching is bad. It's the worst. If you overstretch your fuse wire, your alien fuse, you're going to collapse your cords. You're going to get frustrated, and you're not going to make an alien. The next thing that I believe decoring with a bigger gauge, it makes it smoother. It makes it an easier fuse. The opposite of overstretch, of course, is understretch. If you understretch your alien fuse wire, it's not that big of a deal. What's going to happen is as you're fusing the wire, it will make basically what's known as a mohawk coil, and you can see that and go, well, shit, that's not right, and stop stretch your fuse a little bit more and continue going with your alien. So you can correct an understretch. Overstretch, there's no correction. It's just done. So decoring with just a little bit bigger gauge wire, in my opinion, is much easier. And I try and make every coil I build as easy as possible because they're kind of tricky. Okay, so I've already cut some wire, so let's get to the build. I've got 3 pieces of 28 gauge wire here. Just gonna clean up the ends. Take my toothless pliers about a 1/2 inch down from the end and bend it over, keeping these cores parallel. Parallel is ridiculously important with your core wires. So everything you do with your core wires, you want to make sure they're parallel. So I'm just going to slide it in through my drill side swivel and crimp it with my fingers. All right. Now I'm just going to slide down the cores with my fingers, keeping everything parallel. I get close to the end and I'll square it up. Now I'm going to use, you'll see it better on the build, but I'm going to use what I used to use to keep my cores stable back a couple years ago. Because I think it's a good way to do it. And what it is a slidable core stabilizer. And by slidable, I mean slidable. It moves. It's not like Legos that you clip on in there, they stay right there. This is slidable. So the company that makes this particular one is, I guess I heard rumors that they're out of business, so I'm not going to say the name. But you can find these all over the place. In any group, any coil group, any vaping group, anywhere, say, hey, where can I get, printed, slidable core stabilizers? And you'll get a bunch of answers. Okay, so this one, the reason I like it is it's small. If you're taking a bigger mass core stabilizer and putting it on the cores, sometimes it can actually, with the momentum from the drill, it can actually encourage your cores to collapse. These come in gauges. So, like, I've got 28 gauge, 3 28 gauge wires. So this particular stabilizer is should be a 28 gauge core stabilizer. I've found that in these printed core stabilizers, if you go down a size, they work out better. So this is actually a 30 gauge. And look how it moves on there. Going down, if they're too big, the cores will just collapse inside them. All right, so that's enough about stabilizers. So now, I could probably just go ahead and alien this now, but it's kind of a habit of mine, probably a security blanket. A little bit of a, like, if I don't do this, I won't be able to make an alien kind of thing. I use Legos to secure my build, my cores, to my drill side swivel. And again, you want to keep every step you do whenever you touch these cores, make sure that they stay parallel. You want your cores like that or like that, however you see it. But you want core, so they stay together. Because if they do that, you're not building aliens anymore, you're building Mohawks. So, now you can slide your stabilizer anywhere you want. The whole idea is to be able to do this without a stabilizer at all. And if you add enough tension to your drill, meaning keeping tension on these cores, and your stretch is right, you don't need this stabilizer whatsoever. Your cores will stay parallel and your fuse will wrap right on. But it takes a while to get used to the feeling of that and how that feels. So core stabilizers are a good idea. And again, you can use anything for a core stabilizer. This is just what I use when I use them. But I also use Legos here. But Legos, you got to stop and move everything. This is just one little slide. You just move it. So you can use whatever you got. A lot of people use a key ring. I never could get the key ring to work right. Trust me, I tried everything. Okay, so when I decord for my fuse wires, I've already got some made up. I clapped in a clockwise motion, right? So I spun my drill forward in a clockwise motion, clapped in a wire, and then took the core out. And this is what I got. Is little springy wire. It's hard to see. Now I clapped in this. I made this going in a clockwise motion. So in order to have it alien fuse right, I have to fuse it in a counterclockwise motion. So reverse on my drill. Now when I started doing aliens, I kept my drill in low speed. I don't know, probably because I was scared of doing it in high speed. If you can teach yourself how to do aliens in high speed, you'll be better off, because the alien fuse is much better fused at higher speeds. It sets the spacing right. It's just a much better coil if you can do it at a higher speed. Now the stretch. The stretch is something you got to feel. Let me cover this real quick too. My cores are short. I build one alien at a time. Simple reason for that is it's easier. I started out doing like 2-foot cores, and they just kept collapsing. So I kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And I found that about 8-10 inches of core wire to spin my alien fuse on worked out really well. Not to mention that if you're trying to fuse 2 foot of cores with an alien fuse, that when you stretch it, it's gonna be 6-8 feet behind you. It's hanging on the floor, cats fucking with it, dogs stepping on it. It's just a pain. So I condensed everything down to do one alien at a time. Takes a little longer, but I believe it's easier. And again, I'm looking to try and make things as simple and as basic as possible. The stretch, I can't teach you that. I can give you an idea. Like this is about, I don't know, 8-9 inches of decor, and I stretch it to about 3 feet. But I do it by feel more than I do by length, because I can feel the tension in it and where it needs to be, and where it pops over, where it's an overstretch. An overstretch is bad. Now, the gaps I create, each gap that I have created when I stretch this should be the same width as your core wires combined. So when it wraps around, it just creates that little S. So now again, I have to fuse in a counterclockwise motion. So I have to attach my fuse wire, my alien fuse, in the same way, counterclockwise motion. So when I come in reverse, it's coming back this way. Okay, I'm gonna put that stabilizer right there, and I'm gonna alien to it. I'm gonna alien fuse right to it and stop, and move it, and start again. So you get the idea that you can just do that. Starting and stopping with an alien fuse, you're gonna screw up a couple times, but you'll get it. You'll realize that all you have to do is, when you stop, let go of that lead wire, and it'll just sit there. Move your core stabilizer, and you're good. You're gonna want to keep your hand a good 8-10 inches away from your build when you're fusing. So something along those lines. And you're going to want to lead your your fuse wire just a bit. You'll see when I do it, and you'll see how you can adjust it so your gaps aren't bad at all. So you're getting a nice tight alien fuse. Okay, let's rock and roll. Also, if you don't like licking your fingers, keep some water on your table so you can get your fingers wet. You're going to want your fingers wet to let this fuse slide through your fingers. So your pressure, your tension is created by pinching the fuse wire, not by pulling down on it or letting up. It's just by pinching and let off pinching. So you want that wire to move nice and freely through your fingers. And that's the other thing I can't teach you. I can't teach you that tension, that feel of that tension that you need. All right, here we go. And you'll just see your alien starts. You know the tension right there, and you just go. And see, I fucked up. Oh well, keep going. You stop. Now, what you can do is switch hands and just keep that tension on your lead, or you can let it go. Doesn't really matter. Now, I've moved my sliding core stabilizer to enough that I have enough room to I've got my coil. That's I'm done. When I get to that stabilizer, I've built my alien. And I backwound, no big deal. Just start again. And I'm going to go ahead and hit that stabilizer and let it move. See how they move? And there you go. That's your alien. You can, if you get little gaps in it, you can push on it and slide it together. That's it. So, I got enough for what I needed was a 4 wraps on 3 millimeters for these aliens that I have to make. So I cut it down and I'll show you. That is literally all I need for the builds I'm doing. 4 millimeters or 4 wraps on a 3 millimeter bit. And that's that. That's an alien. Any questions at all, put them in the comments or DM me, Christopher Ohms on Facebook with a K. So it's a lot of feel, it's a lot of practice, but definitely you can do it. I promise you can do it. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. But try the stuff I mentioned. And see how it goes. You just got to play with it. So again, thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. I truly appreciate all the support of the channel that I'm getting. And I'll keep spinning. I've got some different ways of holding my cameras coming. So my videos are just going to get better from here. So you can actually see what I'm doing a little better. So again, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Peace. Talk to you later.